In Ecuador, social and political conflict continues, particularly between the government, some local communities, and the indigenous movement, amid a governmental push to exploit natural resources through mining, in order to assure higher state revenues that would finance Rafael Correa's citizens' revolution, which a majority of Ecuadorians support. Indigenous groups and the affected local communities have opposed this mining initiative for many years now, and have protested against it all around the country. This has led to a split between Correa, ecologists, some student groups, and the indigenous confederations, all of which were his former allies. Correa has inherited a long-standing challenge to regulate artisanal mining, and in many cases he has assumed the unpopular task of imposing mega mining projects to some local communities. Like this one in San Jose de Intag, in Babura province in the north of Ecuador. The local population is also worried about the consequences of an open pit mine.
Yo fui y visité Cerro de Pasco, donde se está haciendo una minería a cielo abierto que es de cobre. Cada día las casas van cayendo porque el hueco se va haciendo más grande, tanto a lo ancho como también en profundidad.
We contacted Jaime Guamán Guevara, an environmental consultant from mining projects from the south of the country, with wide experience in the area. He supports the proposed mining projects and responded to our questions in writing.
Currently in Ecuador 95% of the mining is done by unregulated, untaxed and unsafe artisanal projects. While a new mining law has been approved, the regulations to apply such law have not been written yet. This is an inefficient activity. As an environmental sciences professional, I can't deny that an open pit mine will have an impact. I believe that in some cases such damage can be justified by the gains it returns to society.
Intag is a valley on a semi-tropical mountain range, about 1,800 meters above sea level, on the Pacific coast of South America. It is located on a subtropical area full of mountains, rivers and valleys. Gold and copper have been found in the area, but until 1994 it was not possible to exploit these minerals, because Ecuadorian law didn't allow exploitation in an ecological reserve of the time. In 1994, the World Bank loaned money to Ecuador under the condition that the country open its natural and ecological parks and reserves to mining and oil drilling. Conservative President Sixto Durán Ballén accepted such terms. For 20 years now, Intag's life has been a fight to defend its territory. In 1994, Vichy Metal, a subsidiary of Mitsubishi, was sampling and studying the zone. They were accused of contaminating the rivers and forced out in 1997 by an organized local community that wanted to keep its environment free from contamination. Copper Mesa, now Ascendant Copper, a Canadian company, had a concession in the area, but its operations were being delayed. In this video from December 2, 2006, we can see how a paramilitary force breaks a roadblock, meeting the unarmed community with force. While President Correa had won its first election only a few days before the attack on November 26 of the same year, he only assumed power on January 15, 2007. By September 2007, under Correa's orders, the Ecuadorian government ordered Ascendant Copper to stop all operations. Just a few months after that, Rafael Correa definitely cancelled its mining license by January 2008. In March 2009, a lawsuit was filed in Toronto's stock exchange, accusing Copper Mesa of organizing the attack. The mining company was subsequently expelled from TSX on January 19, 2010. In all these instances, the community was victorious through organizing an effective, peaceful action.
No dejar entrar a las empresas mineras a nuestras comunidades. Nosotros necesitamos cuidar el agua porque el agua es la vida de nosotros y de nuestros hijos, y más que el oro que haya en las montañas, es el agua para nosotros.
However, they now face a new battle to defend their water and natural environment, one that might prove that much harder. On Saturday, September 14, 2013, El Universo reported
100 military and police tried to enter the zone, with them 20 technicians from ENAMIEP, the state mining company, and Codelco, the Chilean mining transnational. determined to start preliminary studies of the Toizen Mountains, in the Intag zone, Imbabura, Ecuador.
A group of people from the community was there to impede their passage. They closed the road, and eventually, despite police presence, the technicians left to avoid confrontations. It has been widely reported how Ecuador has a green constitution. In this document, on Chapter 4, referring to communities and nationalities, Article 57.7 says,
"A free and informed consultation shall take place about any plan for evaluation, exploitation and commercialization of non-renewable resources inside the boundaries of their lands, which could affect their environment and culture. They are also entitled to participate on the earnings of such projects and to be compensated if any social, cultural or environmental damage is made. The authorities' consultation is compelled and it must be timely. If community gives no consent, the Constitution and the law must be applied."
On point 8 of the same article, it reads,
"The state shall preserve and promote an adequate management of biodiversity and the natural surroundings. The state shall include the local communities to ensure the conservation and sustainable use of biodiversity."
However, in Ecuador's mining law, passed in January 29, 2009, on Chapter 2, Article 4, it lays in the hands of the President to decide mining policy. Also, Chapter 3, Article 16, declares that the state holds total jurisdiction over all underground resources, independently of what's in the surface. In 2009, an unconstitutionality lawsuit was filed by the indigenous confederations on Ecuador's constitutional court regarding the mining law. However, a few months after, while the court recognized that the mining law approving process had been irregular because the indigenous nationalities were not consulted about it as the Constitution mandates, it did not declare the mining law unconstitutional. This was a very controversial verdict because it declined to rule over the issue of preeminence of constitutional indigenous and nature rights over the mining law. A mining law that the indigenous movement, a former Korea allied, had so strongly opposed. To understand this apparent contradiction, we spoke with Alec Pinos from Acosta law firm. He has wide experience in Ecuadorian law, courts and civil disputes. Pinos believes that while the 2008 Constitution says that nature and local communities have fundamental rights, its interpretation and enforcement are competence of the government.
La interpretación de la Constitución dice que se debería consultar a las comunidades, consultar a las personas. La verdad, en ese tramo estamos muy ambiguos en la Constitución. Muchos constitucionalistas, muchos abogados, colegas míos dirán, pero es que está clarísimo. No está claro por ninguna parte. Este tema es que la explotación le pertenece al Estado y el Estado sabrá cómo la administra.
This administration, according to the law, is done in good faith and aiming to preserve nature and the communities. Pinos Acosta argues that now the Constitution does provide better tools in case of social or environment damage happens.
En el momento que se cometa un error, una negligencia, las comunidades tendrán a quién demandar, pero antes de todo esto, lograr una consulta, como te digo, tiene un procedimiento.
José Cueva is a local organic farmer who is a member of an association of small producers, packing and exporting coffee. He was part of Correa's 2006 local campaign effort. While he is not a lawyer, José Cueva reflects the opinion of many critics who claim that the constitutional mandate has not been kept.
The first law that the government approved after the new constitution was the mining law. And the mining law was totally opposed to what the Constitution says about nature rights and community rights, because mining is an activity that will change the lives and the culture of the people, and they had to make a consultation first before they approve this law. They never do that.
According to Cueva, the population of Junín or the Intag Valley has not been properly informed and consulted about the mining project as the Constitution demands. He claims that using the argument of winning the elections, the government denies the right to the people of the valley.
7-1, compañero. Ya basta, bueno, 6-1 más exactamente. Pero ya basta que unos cuantos torpeden, destrocen la democracia, la voluntad popular y hagan lo que les dé la gana. La gente nos crea a nosotros.
Pocho Alvarez, an Ecuadorian documentary filmmaker, had a documentary about Intag censored from the web by a private firm allegedly contracted by the government.
El presidente de la República hizo una serie de comentarios y una serie de adjetivizaciones o calificaciones a los campesinos que sostienen una resistencia. Esta resistencia no es de ahora, no es en contra del régimen, no es en contra de Correa, no es en contra de este gobierno. Esta resistencia es una actitud de principios que vienen sosteniéndolo desde hace 15 años atrás. Más de 15 años ellos vienen resistiendo al embate, al acoso de las mineras.
El problema, como te digo, básico de todas estas disputas políticas y sociales es que nosotros estamos oponiéndonos a algo que todavía no sabemos cómo va a terminar o qué consecuencias nos va a traer. Ese es un punto que nosotros no analizamos. Siempre pensamos negativamente, pero no lo hacemos de gratis, lo hacemos porque hay mala experiencia en la explotación de los recursos naturales del Ecuador.
It seems that for the people in Intag and the indigenous communities, this time the fight can prove more difficult to win. Unlike the Japanese, Chilean and Canadian firms, President Correa has a majority of popular support. To impede the open pit mine in their territory, they need to gather national support, force a referendum and win it. While it is hard to deny the needs of the majority, the question still stands. How can we balance the rights of indigenous and local communities with economic development for the rest of society? Reporting for The Real News, this is Oscar Leon.